Hello and welcome back to Best in UC TV. I'm your host Heather Clancy. And today we're going to talk about and talk with a very well-known player in the unified communications space, and that is Mitel. I have with me Stephen Beamish, who's the Vice President of Business Development and Marketing. Stephen, welcome today.
Hi Heather, how are you today?
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for dealing with some of my technical difficulties here. I appreciate that.
Pleasure to be here.
I've known the Mitel name for a very long time, and I think what I'd like to do with you today is help people understand where Mitel is going, not necessarily where they've been. And I think one of the most important things for us to all consider is that unified communications really sort of plays to the notion that we all want to be connected, right? But we don't want to be connected and tied to a specific device. So I believe that's very, very central to what Mitel is and how Mitel is evolving into a player that is focusing on software and on providing IP telephony features and functions and capabilities in the software world. So could you, first of all, address for us that strategy on Mitel's side?
Absolutely, and you're bang on. And, it started really to, we've been doing some of this, we've been talking about it, we released some products around it, and, as a marketing organization, we sat down and said, you know what, we have to come up with our story so people get a good understanding about what we mean. Mm-hmm. So when we sat down to articulate it, we came out with the fact that we see it as Mitel's freedom architecture.
Freedom.
Because we said, it's all about freedom architecture, which means, we're a cloud-ready software solution available today. We're device agnostic, so have an in-office experience anywhere. Freedom from commercial offering and freedom of commercial offering, and freedom from a walled garden. So I'm just going to help synthesize my thought here about what you're saying about software. I can bring it down to two aspects here. Cloud-ready single software stream. So Mitel, those who knew us from years ago, we had this PBX called the 3300.
Big so the first piece thing of hardware, right?
Yeah, big black box, right? And so what we did is we decoupled the software from that hardware.
Right.
And then the first step was to move that so that you could be on an industry standard server, or ISS as we call it. So you could now have Mitel running on a Dell server, on an Oracle server, or whatever. And then we then continued with that and said it's all about software. And voice is just an application. It's a mission-critical application, but it's an application. And folks in the data center want to be able to run voice like they run any other application. Mm-hmm. So that was key to our freedom architecture. The second element was providing an in-office experience anywhere. And that goes to your point about devices. We are, and we're proud to say, we're device agnostic. We didn't build a tablet. We didn't say that you have to use a BlackBerry device versus an iPhone device. It doesn't matter to us. You can use any device you want, and you can have that in-office experience with a Mitel solution.
Sure.
So software, yeah, absolutely. You can work on any device. You can be in any. You can put that PBX on any box, whatever works best for you. In fact, we've even gone so far as to virtualize voice, to say, you know what? We were serious when we said it's simply an application.
Well, what does that mean? So from a business standpoint, why is that important that you virtualize voice?
Think about, what's interesting is, so, I go and I speak to, whether it be customer events or channel events or industry events. And now the question I ask is, I say, let me see a show of hands for people that use virtualization anywhere in their network, like VMware, anywhere. And the hands all go up. Because people have been virtualizing, their email, their CRM, everything's been virtualized. But no one's ever been able to virtualize voice. Mm-hmm. So virtualization, if we just take a step back, what it means is you used to have an application running on a dedicated piece of hardware. Right. So think about that poor IT guy who had racks and racks of boxes. Then came out virtualization, where you could have all these applications running on a single server. So I don't have to tell you the cost savings with that, and the heat and energy savings, and be able to free up the IT guy from just keeping the lights on to focus on things that matter to his business. But the one thing nobody could ever do was virtualize voice. Mm-hmm. It was a real-time application. So you think about it, you know voice, you cannot have a second of delay, because you do that and it screws up conversation. That's mission critical. That is not allowed to happen. So they couldn't break that challenge until we worked with VMware, and we really broke it. VMware and Mitel together enabled real-time applications to be virtualized. So that meant now voice can ride alongside a CRM application or whatever in the data center.
So that's an administrative deal, right? So that really makes the IT folks happy. What about on the business side? Does it affect how the software can be integrated into, like for example, a customer service application? You already mentioned CRM, into something that means something to me as the business user. How does that help?
Absolutely. So the first, you're right, the story was for the IT manager. Mm-hmm. The next step where we're now moving it up is think about desktop virtualization.
Right.
So this means, I mean, if you think about it, think about a banking industry or, I don't know, any of those types of industries where I remember talking to one CEO who was in a lobby, and he said, every time I look and I see my employees walking out with laptops, I'm thinking, there's all that data, all that intelligence. What if they lose that, right? So really what people have been looking for is the ability to virtualize that desktop so that if I lost my laptop, it doesn't matter because it's all in the cloud. It's all back there. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly we can now play in that world, because think about it. Now with that laptop, you could go and you could connect, when you sign on and you sign on to that laptop, you're signing on as well to the phone system.
Sure.
So that's some of the integration we're doing, which is where we're now moving up to make a difference to the end user.
The two other things I want to hit on. Number one is there's a couple of phones behind me, if you will. That's what I think of as a phone right now. That's what a lot
They're
of
not
people
Mitel phones.
I'm not sure what they are. I don't think you can see the logo. But the fact is, if you're software only, does it really have to be a phone, right? You already alluded to the tablet as a communications device. How does the software only approach enable Mitel to extend out to other devices? Let's just get a little bit more specific on that answer.
Yeah, well, because you talked about the old Mitel and what does it mean going forward. Well, people think of Mitel as very phone-centric, that it's got to be a Mitel phone.
Right.
We personally see that desktop phone is going to, whether it be a Mitel or an Avaya or whatever, it's being commoditized, right? So what we're seeing is, you can use a Mitel phone or you can use a mobile device.
Sure.
Because what I think we're seeing as well is we're starting to see where this or mobile is becoming the device of choice. And with tablets, like I have a tablet here, right? And we're working with RIM, for example, that the ability then to integrate your voice onto these types of devices. So that's, so we're not getting hung up on whether it being a Mitel phone.
The other thing that I see happening is the cloud, right? And a lot of companies are talking about moving infrastructure out of their data center entirely. They're virtualizing, but they're also moving it out. So how does your software-only strategy help with Mitel's cloud message?
Well, because now, you can start working with companies that deliver solutions from the cloud, deliver voice from the cloud, and when suddenly you go, well, ours is just software, so you can now take Mitel into the cloud. Well, that opens a whole new market. In fact, we've even got our own solution that we've come out with, which is Mitel Anywhere, and that's cleverly spelled WARE. And that's currently a U.S. only offering, and we were surprised by the uptake in that. I mean, we expected an uptake, but it was incredible how quickly that ramp started to move up. And so that basically takes Mitel into the cloud and allows small businesses or businesses that are larger and dispersed to have all their applications and services brought from the cloud. And so we work very successfully in the cloud. And we're working successfully with VMware in the cloud as well. So cloud fits right into it, and you think about it, it's one of these good things that we came forward with the real focus on getting the software-centric view, and then suddenly the cloud, everybody talks about cloud, and we were like, great, we're ready. We're cloud ready, and so that was the beauty of it. So we're just kind of humming along, and I'll tell you, you say a lot of people know the Mitel name. Somebody who knew Mitel 10 years ago, 15 years ago, who then popped in and saw us now, they wouldn't recognize the company, right? Which is a good thing.
One last question for you, and that really has to do with the cost, right? So when someone spends money on these, so how does the software-only approach affect the cost of your solutions?
Well, it streamlines it really, because suddenly, you can start getting applications delivered into the cloud. And so when we talk, we work on, you can take an old agnostic phone I'll just pick on Nortel since they're not around, an old Nortel phone, and suddenly make it IP enabled using a Mitel software. So there, you don't have to replace your phones. The story, everybody, it doesn't matter if the economy's in a recession or the economy's humming, people always are cost conscious. And if you can suddenly go, hey, you can have a software voice solution and you don't have to replace your sets, or get this, you can have that software business-centric solution all on a mobile device, and you don't have to buy new sets. So that's the way you're starting to basically enable it so that people can get the benefits of that software solution without a heavy tax of capital purchases of PBX boxes and all these different things.
All right. This is not your father's Mitel. So thank you very much for your time, Stephen. Appreciate it. Thank you also for joining us on Best in UC TV. Until we meet again, I'm Heather Clancy.